Let's kick off our opening drive, brought to you by Chevy. This is our first down.
He's just done the hard work that it takes to become a good player, and did it over quite a period of time. He had a 6-year career here. Started as a defensive lineman, made the transition over to offense very seamlessly, and did it basically following the same footsteps of 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who just went to the Raiders, Pro Bowl player from the Baltimore Ravens. And I hate to make those comparisons, but they're similar in the fact that their approach to what they do is very, very consistent.
All right, so that was from 𝗦𝗏 yesterday. You guys had Kirk Ferentz on the show, the Iowa head coach, who obviously knows Logan Jones very well, compares him to 𝗏𝗏, who obviously the Bears let go somewhere else, right, during the free agency period. Guys, I think there was an assumption when the Bears drafted Logan Jones that, oh, they went out and got Garrett Bradbury, a veteran, somebody that Logan Jones can sit and watch behind. But I think it's important to sort of, have the conversation of whether or not Logan Jones can win that battle.
It's a worthwhile conversation because you should assume that, because obviously Bradbury is a veteran, but he's a rookie in the Bears system and he's new to the Bears organization. So in that context, you could see why Logan Jones, second-round draft pick, you have a lot of faith he's going to develop into the kind of player that you want at the center of your offensive line. Character-wise, this is a mature young man. He's not your ordinary rookie. So I don't think it would be beyond the realm of possibility to give him an opportunity and he would win that job if you're just evaluating performance, not necessarily experience, but you also want to think about that connection with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I would just let the competition play out. Not a fake competition. Every NFL team says, this is open competition, but you know who the slotted starters are. Real competition, and may the best man win. And I think Logan Jones is the guy that's really set up to be the best man. He's not some 21, 22-year-old rookie. This guy's 24, about to be 25 in October. He's played 6 years of college football, 51 starts in a pro-style offense. He's actually snapping the ball to the center, not this shotgun spread offense stuff that's really cute you see around the rest of the league. So he's done it. He's not going to get overpowered. He was 7 on the Feldman's Freaks list. They come out with a freak list of the most athletic and strong guys in college football. He was number 7, 700-pound squat. So he's developed. He's a guy that's smart. He's intelligent. He was a 3-time team captain in 4 years of playing center. So this is a type of guy you could really see coming in and having an impact right away.
The age factor. He's a month older than Caleb Williams. So these guys are going to be able to connect in a way that obviously you would want them to, not to discount Bradbury, but I think it would make sense if at least give Logan Jones a chance.
In an ideal world, guys, Logan Jones wins that job,
Best
right?
case scenario,
Best
absolutely.
case scenario is that Logan Jones is the better center of the two, and then Caleb Williams won't have to have 4 different centers in the first 4 years.
Start that
career.
relationship.
Start that relationship, get it going. It's both of their first years in that system, right? In an ideal world, Logan Jones, that's your center of the future. The quicker he gets going, the better. Let's go to our second down of this opening drive. Take a look at another position battle, and that is of the left tackle position. Here's a look at the players who will be looking to compete for that spot in training camp. Of course, Braxton Jones, Theo Benedict, Jedrick Wills Jr., and Karan Amegadjie still in the mix. Of those 4 guys, we thought maybe the Bears would add a left tackle right in the draft. They don't end up adding that. How many of these players on your screen have a real shot at being that week 1 starter?
Probably 2, I would think. I would think it's Braxton Jones and one of the others, Theo Benedict or Wills, because of the possibility, potential. You don't know what they're going to bring, but I really think this has got to be Braxton Jones's year. He's a year more removed from the injury. He's had a tremendous offseason by all accounts. He's really bulked up and got himself back into and the kind of body that you want if you're playing left tackle in the NFL. Clay, I think that he has the experience now with 48 NFL starts, whatever it is, and he's the guy that is the odds-on favorite. And it's either him or Benedict with maybe Wills as the dark horse.
Yeah, I think you're right. 44 NFL starts, you're close there. And he's a guy that's played some good football. And I've talked about this before, just the mindset of going into an offseason when you're injured, trying to get back on the field, versus when you're healthy and you're hitting the weight room, you're hitting the sprints, you're hitting the agilities, you're really focused on your craft. I think he has a really good year, and I'm betting on Braxton Jones. Theo Benedict, he started 8 games. The Bears were 6-2, averaged 25 points per game when he was in there. I'm not saying that's because of Theo, but I'm saying they can run the offense when he's in there. So I think he has a real opportunity. Didn't get much time beforehand, and then Jedrick Wills. He's had the most starts out of anybody. I'm not saying he was an excellent tackle beforehand, but this is a guy that's played a lot of football. If he's healthy, you've got to think he could have a possibility. He's got to stay on the field.
We spent so much time complaining or wondering why they didn't draft a defensive tackle and an edge rusher. We almost overlooked the fact that we went in thinking they would get a left tackle at some point in the draft. And they didn't. So now here's who you're left with.
Yeah, I think you look at Braxton Jones and Theo Benedict, who are two of the guys that were in that competition this time a year ago, right? And we didn't even know that Theo Benedict was really going to be in the mix this time last year. So I think you have an open mind, and you talk about Braxton Jones having a full offseason of being healthy, getting healthier. You also think about a full offseason for Theo Benedict, who at this time last year didn't even know he was going to be in that competition. So you are curious to sort of see, and I do get the sense that Theo Benedict is a bit of a passion project for this coaching staff. They take a lot of pride in the fact, and for the front office, they take a lot of pride in finding him and getting him ready to be able to play as well as he did last year.
And the Bears have shown that they will play the best player. If they think one guy's better than the other, not just because you're Braxton, you're Jedrick Wills, even Karan Amagaji, if they think one guy is better, they will make the change mid-season and put the other guy in there.
They've also shown they believe in Dan Rochar. They're investing in his coaching to get the most out of these guys.
All right, let's go to our third down of this opening drive, taking another look at a position battle, which is wide receiver 3, and they did add that position in the draft.
He's got a unique skill set just in terms of he's a 4-2 guy, and those guys don't grow on trees, and so it's easy to look at because that flashes up and everyone sees it. But yet, when you turn on the tape, it's more than just being able to run deep routes. The versatility that he showed, both at Mississippi State and at LSU, from the backfield, whether it's running routes or getting handoffs, and then the returning aspect of it, I think it all adds up. And Coach Randall, myself, Press Taylor, we all have a vision of how this guy could really help us.
Ben Johnson talking about their new addition to that room in Zavion Thomas. We know Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III are going to be the Bears' top 2 receivers. But when it comes to wide receiver 3, the Bears have these options. Of course, you have the offseason addition of Kalif Raymond, who has a lot of familiarity with Ben Johnson. Last year's undrafted signing in 𝗭𝗏 Walker, who was out in USC working out with Caleb Williams and the crew. And then this year's third-round pick, you have Zavion Thomas, who you just heard Ben Johnson talk about there. How do you see this competition playing out? Because those 3 are an interesting sort of battle when you take a look at them.
We'll have our thoughts and we'll have our rankings and have our ideas, but ultimately, Caleb Williams will answer that question. I think whoever he develops a chemistry with, whether it's training camp, whether it's the offseason OTAs, whatever the case may be, maybe it's week 1 through week 4 when you're trying to figure out what exactly you have as an offense. I suspect it will be 𝗭𝗏 Walker, but I don't know that for sure. He's somebody that in a big moment, he came through, pressed into action. You could not have had a better cameo appearance than he did. So that small sample size, I think, has built an offseason full of confidence. He already believed in himself, and now he's got that belief in his quarterback. So I think Caleb ultimately will decide, but I would give the edge to Walker.
I think you have a good point there, David. Let's not forget, they kept this guy in the active roster the entire season. They cut Tyler Scott, a 4th-round draft pick, for him. And this guy, when you look at his athletic profile, 4'4" guy, 10'5" broad jump. The guy is super athletic, 6'3", over 200 pounds. So he's a big body guy, can make plays, and they trusted him in some huge moments. So I think 𝗭𝗏 Walker's right there. But for me, if you want to go the safe pick, Kalif Raymond. He has a history with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson knows how he's going to pick up his offense. In 3 years with Ben, he had 100 catches, 1,300 yards, 13 yards per catch, and a few touchdowns. So Kalif Raymond is the guy I would say he's the favorite, but 𝗭𝗏 is right there behind him, and Zavion Thomas. I think he's going to be the gadget guy, the orbit motions, the screens, obviously kick return. You'll find ways of getting the ball in his hands, even reverses and runs. So I think he will have a niche, but I think you're right. The 2 guys, 𝗭𝗏 and then Kalif Raymond.
And also, you might use Thomas out of the backfield, so he might be lining up in a variety of different ways. The chemistry that I think 𝗭𝗏 Walker developed with Caleb Williams can't be ignored.
Love it. All right, let's go to our 4th down of this opening drive, because we do have a stadium update today, and there was an update really all week long. Let's take a listen to some sound, and then we'll dissect the news of the day.
I think just about everyone who was involved in it over in the House acknowledged that there's still some more work to be done on the bill. So that's what we intend to do here in the Senate. We're going to make sure we get input from senators, look at every aspect of the bill, and then decide when to move forward. So we're going to take our time with this and make sure we end up with a really good product.
So we know Governor Pritzker has been urging the bill to move fast. We just heard State Senator Bill Cunningham say that they are going to take their time on it. Meanwhile, it was reported that the Bears brass met virtually with the NFL's stadium committee to discuss both proposed stadium sites in both Arlington Heights and in Hammond, Indiana. How fast does this Megaprojects bill need to move, David, in order to keep the Bears in Illinois?
It's a natural question to ask almost every day, but I think as the pace of this is not going the way some people would like it to, but there's urgency, yet they're not going to rush, if that makes any sense at all. And I don't think there's a panic by downstate when you talk to people who talk to people involved with this. There's not that sense where, okay, it's got to be by Friday or it's got to be by next Friday. Today was a big day because of what the Bears told the stadium committee, because of what Kevin Warren told Hallis Hall and the employees there, because of where this is headed. But when you talk to the people involved, there's a sense of confidence. There's a belief that this is getting done and they're making progress. Amendments, alterations, little finagling here and there, the NFL kicking in some more money. These kinds of things are negotiations. That's what a bill ends up being, a big negotiation. So it takes a little bit more time. Friday is May 1st. By the end of May, I think we have a deal.
Did the events of this week, David, have you leaning one way or the other? Has it changed sort of where you stand on that?
Well, I think the escalated rhetoric has made people in Indiana feel a little bit picked on. But you have the governor of Illinois, Governor Pritzker, calling them the ham and hams. It gets a lot more attention, and I think it was unnecessary. So that maybe has a lot of people thinking, well, Indiana's going to roll out the red carpet, and they're heading that direction. I think you take a deep breath, you realize it still looks like Arlington Heights makes the most sense and is the most likely.